The Nigerian electricity supply industry is faced with serious challenges rising from dearth of infrastructure to electricity theft, lack of supply, inappropriate pricing and billing of electricity, down to lack of cordial relationship between the suppliers and consumers. The absence of trust in the marketplace has evolved into consumers expressing their frustration in various forms. For a long time, there have been a lot of complaints by electricity consumers across the country against estimated billing without remedy. Rather than abating, the rip-off continues. The result is that at present, virtually all electricity consumers, except those with installed prepaid meters, are slammed with outrageous bills for power not supplied. This blatant corruption continues to fester. With me in the studio to discuss these and other salient issues within the electricity sector is a legal practitioner, Barrister Tope Akinyode, a dispute resolution and corporate practice lawyer. It's a pleasure having you on SaharaTV.
It's a great pleasure being around here too.
From your perspective, what is your opinion on the crisis in the power sector despite the efforts to reposition the sector?
The problems date back to several years, and it may be appropriate to just delve into a little bit of the history. Because over the years, we have not really had it all right or perfect as a nation, power supply-wise. But again, it has never been this bad that people come up with astronomical billings, baseless billings, and then nothing to show for it. I think the crux of the problem was that the system or the entire sector got into hands of people who were corrupt, who had no foresight, who also do not understand the industry system and who lacked the technical know-how to proceed with the electricity sector. Before now, we have always thought that the solution would be privatization. In fact, that was the cry. In 1972, ECN, Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, and then the Niger Dams Authority, they were merged together to form NEPA. And that was because prior to then, the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria had been dealing or had been at the aims of affair of transmitting, generating, and then distributing power supply. As events unfolded, there were further need for a boost in electricity supply all through Nigeria. So the Niger Dams Authority was created to look at options in hydroelectric power supply. And beyond the hydroelectric power supply, the mandate was to also further look into options probably in gas, in coal, and many other things. Now, they both performed fairly well until 1972, when government thought to merge them together and form NEPA. But till 1990, since 1972 to 1990, 1999, 98, there was poor management, decision of government, military taking over intermittently, altering different policies of government, lack of continuity in the process. All of those things caused big doom to the sector. Now, in 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2003, upwards, there has been cry that the government couldn't no longer handle, because it's a capital-intensive sector, could no longer handle the financial wherewithal that it would take to revamp the sector. And so we thought privatization would solve the problem. But here we are now. Privatization hasn't solved anything. People who should have meters, as provided by law, do not have. They barely even consume electricity, yet you bring up bills with no justification, with no basis, to probably harass, intimidate, or cause mayhem in the system.
Let's look at this issue of estimated billing or crazy billing. The distribution companies have continued unabated, and they've been getting away with billing consumers for power not supplied. I mean, why this trend? Why is it not being curbed?
Oh, well, it's not being curbed, I would say, for maybe 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that's NERC, which is mandated by law to govern the affairs in the electricity industry holistically, appear not to have the strength to tame the industry players. It also appears that the industry players themselves are perhaps fraudulent. And this is not for us to just say it's a statement in the air. No, it applies to everybody. Yakubu Dogara, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, Eastwire Speaker of House of Rep, said in one of his houses in the north, where there is nobody, there's no occupant, he gets bills of 80,000 naira monthly. That's for an apartment that has no occupant. So it's everywhere. It applies to all of us. So perhaps we may say they are fraudulent in that area. But again, if we would be objective, you could say that some people too are profiteering from the system. You have people who are not legally connected and they use electricity supply. It has a toll too on the entire system. So I think all of that has contributed to the problem.
Everybody virtually knows about the rot within the system itself, and there's been an endless controversy around the distribution companies as they regard the issue of prepaid meters. Now, let me get your insight on this. How will you? What's your reaction to the fact that many people are still paying for power that they did not consume?
Wrong, illegal, and it is outright wickedness. I mean, it does not accord with any principle of reason to say that people do not get to use a service and then they should pay for it. But that's what we have. That's what we have at the moment, where a whole lot of community, a whole lot of individuals who should be provided meters by the distributing companies, electricity distributing companies, do not have access to meters, are not being provided meters. And then they come up, the distributing companies come up with billings that are not measured. So it is poor, it is bad. And naturally it must trigger a reaction from the people.
Sometimes ago, the Senate, I think about April thereabout, the Senate actually passed a bill that seek to criminalize the estimated billing.
Yes.
And whatever happened to this bill?
I'm aware that the bill had passed through the House of Representatives.
It got to the Senate.
And was meant to go to the Senate.
It passed to the third reading in the Senate.
But I'm not too certain it has been signed into an act. Otherwise, that bill, from what I've read about it, criminalizes estimated billings. And that's the law if it comes to light. And it must be applicable anyways, otherwise we will enforce in court. No. So I doubt it has been fully assented to.
Now, let's look at electricity consumers' rights themselves. I mean, if I am owing for electricity, for example, what rights do I have? Say, a distribution company comes to my house and just disconnects me arbitrarily. And despite the estimated billings that I receive, what are the legal implications of that?
Many.
What are the rights?
There are many.
Remedies that electricity consumers can see.
There are many rights that are called to a consumer who is disputing his bill, and then all of a sudden the distribution companies come to cut him off electricity. The NERC regulation stipulates certain procedure to disconnecting, to about even disputing the bills, and many other things. And part of which many people do not even know, let me start with, is that you cannot even disconnect a consumer from power supply or electricity supply. You have not issued a written notice. That's the regulation. And it stands unshaken. But again, we have it violated several times. Now, in a situation where a consumer disputes his bill, the NERC regulation says in such situation, the bill in question should be resolved between parties, and it gives certain rules and procedures to resolve that controversial bill. But I'll not go into that now. But the NERC regulation says pending that resolution between parties, the previous bill, which wasn't disputed, should be the basis upon which the consumer should continue to pay. That's the NERC regulation, and it is law. Notwithstanding that it was given as subsidiary legislation, it is enforceable. It is the law. So all of these things have been violated. But again, where these things happen, it is not for the consumer to just rush into a courtroom to say, I want to enforce my right. There are certain procedures that must be followed under the NERC rules.
Considering the NERC regulations, there was a clause in that regulation that actually says that illegal disconnection attracts over 1,000 naira fine daily. These are some of the
very
provisions of that
nothing
that
less
are being violated.
Yes, nothing less than 1,000 naira per day for all the periods where the disconnection persists. But like I said, for a person, an aggrieved party, to be able to optimize or take advantage of all those provisions, there are amicable resolution processes that must be followed. First, it will complain the disputed billings or even the disconnection to the disco company itself, the nearest to it. If it is not resolved, then the NERC forum nearest to the consumer's residence, the consumer can approach it and lay a complaint. If that also is not resolved, then it now goes to the NERC commission itself. The position about NERC regulation says that within 15 days, all of these past stages should be completed. So if that is not resolved, then a consumer will have a good day in the courtroom.
Now, let me also ask this: what are the penalties? Are there not stiffer penalties, and which agencies or organs of government sees to the enforcement of, for example, when there is a violation, flouting of the disconnection rules by the distribution companies? Who enforces it?
Well, the major regulatory body is still the NERC, Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission.
But it seems the NERC itself has failed in this.
Yeah, it has several times. It has. Also, the Minister of Power too has a role to play in this, in the enforcement, in creating guidelines. But is more holistic. But again, as it's not a complaint or for anybody to lament, in issues at periods where there are violations and NERC is unable to handle, they will proceed to court. The court always has been the final settlement of issues like this.
You have been at the forefront of the struggle. In fact, you instituted a class action suit against ADC. Could you shed some light on this? There are about 3 matters in court at the moment. About 2 of them are a class action against the KDC. But the one which I have handled more recently and which I'm handling at the moment is one that involves victimization or harassment, if you may say, of the KDC towards a particular person just marked out of the community as a scapegoat. They actually arrested him, and
claiming all sort of offenses against him, alleging all sort of offenses against him. Already we're in court. We've proceeded, court proceedings have started, and then we got him, of course, we got his bail in court and all of those things. But beyond that, we want to see the matter to its end. Apparently, because there's no case against him. But again, we'll follow through the entire process. And since the matters are already in court, I would really not want to comment so much on the matters.
What about the class action suit that you also instituted?
Well, the class action suit is also in existence. It's still ongoing. Now, unfortunately, the position of the law is that when an issue like that is in a courtroom, and what the community is disputing as a whole is this issue of crazy business, exactly. which many people have also termed crazy business. The issue of crazy business, and parties are always enjoined that when matters like this go to court, they maintain the status quo ante bellum. It means that parties should maintain the same position they were before the controversy, erupts.
Finally, let me get your perspective on it. What's your advice for electricity consumers who have been subjected to these corrupt estimated billings by the distribution companies?
All hopes are not lost. All hopes are not lost because we have a legal means of pursuing our right. And like I said, many unknown but advantageous provisions of the law exist to protect the consumer and guide against the corrupt nuances of the regulators, and rightly can be pursued in court. So it's a good day for anybody who's passing through all of those problems, can challenge the problems in the law court. But before then, must be able to have exhausted all the means as allowed by the NERC rules.
Barrister Tope Akinyode, thank you very much for your insightful analysis.